get in focus.
Alright.
There we go.
Everyone can hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
I can totally hear. Everyone, look, it's X Plays Adam Sessler, the totally awesome Adam Sessler, god of all things video games news. And one of the most amazing things about this guy right here is that he so eloquently states all the things that I want to say.
Really?
Yes. Like, I watch you on Sessler's Soapbox. I'm like, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. And he says it. And that's
Well,
just
it's very kind. It's very kind.
Yeah, but it's true. You do represent us gamer geeks very well.
I try to do what I can.
Yay! Awesome. But guys, feel free to post your questions in the room, and we will try to get to them as often as possible. So, I guess let's just start with the basics. What do you love about working on XPlay?
I get to play video games.
Yeah, but you could do that anyway.
Well, no, but as opposed to other shows that sometimes have to always be sort of finding new things, we get to be completely reactive to an industry that is already busy with trying to do new things itself. And so it's like, okay, cool, what's the next thing around the corner? What's the next thing around the corner? And no, I would in no way could I get away with playing as many video games as I do on the show if I was, say, working at UPS.
It is one of the nice things about working here.
I mean, the trick is if you can go home and tell your wife, I have to do it for work, opportunities open up. I know.
So are you like where the buck stops editorially? Is that English?
Yeah, I know what he's saying.
Okay.
Marcus down. Yes, for the most part, as long as I'm aware of it, I will. And that's definitely the case for some of the biggest stories, like last year with the Call of Duty, everything that happened with Infinity Ward. We actually had that story for a while before it went up, but we felt that we needed to do certain levels of diligence, especially in terms of how we're going to be representing the people that were inside of the Infinity Ward offices. We were not a fan of some of the descriptions we currently had. We were trying to get some greater verification. So yeah, let's go ahead and say the buck stops with me, and I'll probably eat crow on that sometime in the next year.
Do you ever find it difficult to remain unbiased, or do you find that you sometimes side with?
Well, there's two things. Is that people probably have seen on the site and stuff like that. I don't do much in the way of reporting. I do function primarily as a man of opinion, and so when you see me, it's usually me with opinion, and I will always concede my biases when I have them. But when it comes to sort of overseeing stuff that's supposed to be proper, objective news reporting, it's easy to separate that in one's head. I can hold my own opinion. We'll probably comment that opinion at a later time. But in terms of saying just what the facts are, it isn't the hardest balance in the world.
Yeah. Now, someone was asking when you do your own reviews, because I know you do some of them.
Yes.
We do have a whole team of people working on XPlay, putting all the reviews together. It's not just Adam and Morgan. But someone was asking about your thought process. I mean, do you like take notes as you play games? Do you just kind of do an overall impression?
I used to take notes. Yeah. I've been doing it for so long now that actually I start to compose paragraphs in my head as I'm playing the game. I start to highlight certain things. There used to be a style of doing reviews that I wasn't even a fan of when it was practiced. And this is a long, long time ago, where you would just kind of laundry list the assets of the game. Say it was Quake 2. Let's list the guns. Let's list the maps.
Here's what it is.
That to me in no way gives a demonstration of what the experience is going to be like. I take notes sometimes if I need to know sort of a character's name. Then half the time I call up the press person because I can't spell half the words that are in most video games. But on the whole, I start to get a sense of where the game is going and then see if anything changes. I then spend maybe about 48 hours after playing the game to just kind of get some distance from it. That's when I start writing everything in my head and then I put it on the page.
Yeah, Yudbar was asking, what was the last game you reviewed?
The last game I reviewed was Dragon Age 2, which was such a traumatic experience, not because of the quality of the game, but because that game was presented to me as 40 hours, and it turned into 75 hours, and I had to leave a trip early to come back home and finish it.
That's RPGs for you.
When you do anything for 13 hours straight, you do. I think the Oscars were happening around that time, and I went over to Abby Happy's house because she's a neighbor of mine. I was going to go to their Oscar party, and my brain was so focused on Dragon Age 2 that I just left after an hour because I was just not able to have a normal human conversation with anybody else, nor find any novelty in the Academy Awards because they're really boring.
Oh, no. Yeah, I had the same sentiments.
Yeah.
I hate it when I have a good question for you and I forget.
I like to call myself an opinionated article writer. What advice can you give? Yeah, here's the key piece of advice if you want to write opinion articles, and it's something that affects, I think, a lot of young people, especially when you're right out of college and you've been, blessed with you've been anointed to be one of strong opinions. Being negative on something does not make you look significantly more intelligent than being positive on something. And that I think that to position a sense of opinions, not just on evaluating if something is good or bad, because everyone's going to have an opinion on that. But what I like to say is if I'm enjoying a game, why am I having fun? You start to deconstruct it in your head. You start to find a nuance of something you're writing about that can help explicate that opinion that isn't just that kind of just go for the bullseye. Hey, is this good or is this bad?
Yeah, I think that's just all about constructive criticism, which not a lot of people really understand.
Right.
I mean, why?
I think the thing is, I like developers. I like creative people, and it's never been fun for me to give a bad review, except in maybe some of the most egregious of situations where it's obvious that all parties involved knew this wasn't going to be good, then it's like, yeah, whatever. But to sort of, in your own head, at least contextualize what might have been the motivation or what might have been the circumstances. That doesn't mean you change your opinion or you change the score, but it does start to, minimize some of the more unnecessary nastiness.
Now, someone was asking your opinion on Blizzard, but I think I'd just like to know, I guess this would everyone want to know, do you have any favorite developers and why? Who makes you happy?
Bethesda Game Studios is definitely right there on the top of my list because I love Fallout. I love Elder Scrolls. I just love the idea of creating worlds that I can just kind of get lost in and spend tens upon tens of hours. I just like world creation like that. I think it's absolutely amazing. I'm obviously a huge fan of Insomniac. They're very good guys. I think they're amazingly well. The construction of their games and their focus on just the satisfaction of a control scheme, I think is almost has no equal. There's just something deeply satisfying I find about holding those games in my hands. And given the fact that, I'm not as big a fan of the PS3 controller as I am of the 360 controller, they make that just a pointless comparison. They just really understand how to program for that console.
Someone was asking earlier about, it just scrolled up, about game journalism. I guess we can just go into the basics of what do you recommend for people who want to get into that field, aside from English classes?
Yeah, of course I was going to say English classes, or you can take a history class. I think it's critical thinking skills. Get into liberal arts. I do not recommend taking a heavy focus on something like journalism. There's many people I work with here who did do that. I don't want to say that they made the wrong decision, but it's kind of the same thing I tell people who want to work in the game industry. Should I learn programming? Well, hold on, that's not all that there is to making a video game. You need to understand just sort of those elements of design, and critical thinking is absolutely essential for that. And history, English, even sociology, all that stuff kind of plays into that, but you need to be able to formulate ways of thinking in dynamic ways.
Which is ironic because I write all the news stories for the X-Play Taker, and yet I have no interest in journalism. I barely studied it. It's not my thing at all, and yet here I am writing news. So go
exactly. I only want to don't make me tell the story of how I got this job because it will do nothing to instruct anyone about what to do. It was completely by chance. But
yeah, same here.
I'm noticing Dragon Age 3 keeps popping up, and I haven't seen everything from the EA investor call. So if someone can confirm or deny that they actually said Dragon Age 3, I'd love to find out.
I haven't heard anything yet.
Yeah.
Just Mass
What are my expectations for Skyrim? They're very high. I've seen the game. I was deeply impressed. The new engine and a very new approach to how you find missions in the game. That the game kind of knows where you've been, and they can kind of find ways to nudge you in directions where you haven't been yet. I love that. Kid Icarus. So I was talking about what I feel about the new Kid Icarus coming out. I loved Kid Icarus. I had the original Nintendo. I loved it. I think I loved it because I love the Eggplant Wizard, because it was just so silly. And I think I've always wanted to have a Kid Icarus game. And now we're having a Kid Icarus game in the 3DS. And I looked at that trailer, and I'm like, I can't remember why I wanted to have Kid Icarus. I think it's just something that just plays on nostalgia. It was part of such a time period so long ago that seeing it redone with contemporary graphics and everything else, it really no longer feels connected to that nostalgia, nor should it. So that's my feeling on that.
It's almost like the new Thundercats cartoons. We love it because of nostalgia, and then you go back and watch it, and you're like, ugh.
I didn't like the original Thundercats.
I did, but I was also like 7. So.
I was the name Thundercats just didn't get me.
All right.
What am I looking forward to most at E3? The end of E3. It is a
It's
long,
true for a lot of the
tough
staff around
week.
here. Yeah, it's a lot of work.
What do I expect from Sony at this year's E3? A little contrition.
Yeah.
But given the fact that they already have quite, I think, the best exclusive lineup of games I have ever seen, I think they hopefully are in a position to try to top that and also introduce hopefully something equitable for 2012, because I think outside of the PSN fiasco, which is significant, they really have some of the best momentum I've seen this year.
What are some of your opinions about the whole Sony fiasco? What's going on with that?
Here's my thing on the Sony fiasco. Look, it's the age of the internet, and if you want to be putting your credit card on file, it's going to be carrying a certain risk. I'm a little confused, not even by the internet's reaction, but by the mainstream media's reaction, as if there's some sort of novelty to the fact that this is a video game company and not the myriad companies that have also been hacked in the past. I guess the sheer number of people in that community, I think, is larger. But I've been pointing out, I believe, I hope I'm right, because I've said it so many times, I think there's a case where some dude who works in the Department of Health and Human Services went home with discs to have people's social security numbers on it, and they got lost. I mean, that to me is far more egregious than what happened here. At the same time, I think Sony needed to have responded far earlier than they did, and that just exacerbated the bad situation that they found themselves in. It's just best to kind of fess up if something bad has happened. All right.
Public, be aware.
What game did you think would be great but was a disappointment? Resident Evil 5.
Really? I didn't have high hopes for that one.
I think I thought that with the improvements of Resident Evil 4 that we would see something to measure it happening, and co-op was not something that was ever on my mind. You can see the focus went there, and that that game suffered. Yeah.
Someone was asking, it was just up here, about Halo. Oh, well, what do you think the Halo? What do you think is going to happen with the Halo franchise now that 343 Industries has it rather than Bungie?
I don't think anything bad will happen to it. I don't know this for a fact, but I think it's fair to say that Bungie did Halo since 2001. What are we? 2011.
Yeah.
I think fatigue and that urge to do something else creatively is just it's just a natural thing to have happen. And I think that for them to leave and for what could be a very eager group of people to step in and take that mythology and take that game style and do something with it, I think is promising. I don't think that because it doesn't say Bungie that somehow is supposed to mean that it's going to be inferior. I think that something very interesting and exciting could come from it.
Fresh minds, it's always a good thing.
Taco explosion.
You guys are talking so fast. If we don't get to your questions, please just repeat
them.
This
is moving so quickly, everybody, that you have to forgive me.
Nope, no, only help slightly.
Would you rather see old names in gaming brought back or new original games? New original games. I am so tired of playing things with 3s and 4s next to them. I understand why we do, but boy, do I like something that's new.
What new games really surprised you that maybe you never heard of that you're just like, holy crap, this is awesome?
I'm playing this one right now. It's on Xbox Live Arcade. It's called Outland. This game is the best 2D. It's a mixture of Ikaruga and Metroid. The animations are gorgeous. It is so challenging and in that right way. It is just a classic action platformer. It is helping me bide my time until I get my hands on L.A. Noire and all those other great games at the end of May.
Is that what you're most excited for, L.A. Noire?
I'm so excited for L.A. Noire. Portal 2, L.A. Noire, and Skyrim are kind of my 3 biggies for the year, especially now that Mass Effect 3 has been pushed to 2012.
I know. I'm so angry about that.
Well, that's one less thing I have.
That's true. One less thing in the fall,
It was going to come out 2 weeks after Skyrim. And it's like, well, what am I going to do? It's like, I don't like decisions like that.
Yeah. New Assassin's Creed people are asking about. Assassin's Creed Revelations?
Yeah.
There's not much info about it.
Yeah, I don't know enough. I would love for them to really reboot it, but I don't think that's happening. That's all I have on Assassin's Creed right now. Am I looking forward to the new Silent Hill game or not? Probably not. I think that poor franchise has been sort of beaten out of commission. How do you feel about people ignoring the rating of games? You mean the rating, like the M rating? I think it's a little annoying because it's instances like that cause trouble for the rest of us. Also, as I've said many times, it's not even just the M is really big on the bottom of the screen. It's called Grand Theft Auto. That is a felony.
Yes.
I mean, there's so many indications here that is not appropriate for young children.
Right.
Are you looking forward to the Twisted Metal reboot? Definitely.
Yeah, is that one of the few reboots you're definitely looking forward to?
I mean, I want to see what can be done with new technology. It is the style of game we don't have a ton of these days.
Are you a fan of racing games?
No, I'm terrible at racing games. I only learned how to drive after I moved to Los Angeles. So racing games were definitely a challenge before then, and so I need to. I play them, but that's not the fantasy that I feel like indulging.
You like the stuff where you crash things like in Carmageddon.
Yeah, I mean, anything where failure is rewarded is my kind of game.
Yes.
Would you want a Sly 4? Yes. I would like to have a Sly Cooper 4.
Yeah, well, they've been teasing it.
And I know, and I don't think Sucker Punch, I don't think they're big enough to handle both, so I do wonder, but I would love to. What do you think of review scores? Do you think review scores are off this generation? If they're not 1 to 5, maybe I do. I'll leave it at that. Did you honestly like the 3DS? I've never said I like the 3DS. I do not like the 3DS. The 3D does nothing for me. The games that are currently available are absolutely unimpressive. I don't own one. I think that should, right there. What are your thoughts on Wii 2? Here's my big one. It's probably not going to be called Wii 2. I don't think it's a successor to the Wii. I think it's a successor to the GameCube. That is a good thing. Really? I think they're going after a core audience. I think they're trying to win back those people that they alienated with the direction that the Wii went. I think that it will be a game console that will have a normal, at least by Nintendo standards, a normal controller. And that what the Move and the Kinect have shown us is that you can have a core console that has alternate interface options that don't have to define the sole way that you actually engage with that console. Yeah. Why did Infinity War get fired? Wait for the court case. We'll all find out.
Yeah.
Any other hobbies that you enjoy other than gaming? I like cooking. I definitely like eating. And I still actually read those things called books.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I heard you're a big book fan. Like, what do you recommend to people? 3 books everyone should read.
God, 3 books everyone should read. That's a tough one. I'll talk about a couple of games, a couple of books. Something called Day for Night by an author named Richard Reichen, who I cited in my soapbox about books. I'm also trying to get to a book called Super Sad True Love Story by Gary Steingart, who's the great grandson of Nikolai Gogol. And the third, my wife's reading this, but I picked it up and read 2 chapters. This book is devastating. It's a Korean author. It's called Please Look After Mom. It's written in the second person. If you want to know how remarkable that is. It's you. It says, you are doing this, you are doing this.
Interesting.
Very, very effective. What do you think Respawn Entertainment has been working on the past 2 years? A game. They've been working on a game.
We know nothing. A lot of people think that in the video that
what do you feel about it?
We know stuff in advance.
Let's see if we can get up there. Excuse me.
It's okay.
So, what do you feel about a teenager's actually, smart getting bashed to the ground because of his age and understands the game better than most adults? Bashed to the ground, I hope you understand you're actually getting beat up.
I hope you mean intellectually.
I would not be surprised if there are teenagers that can articulate things about games better than an adult can, because you're probably more passionate about it. And assuming you have the requisite vocabulary and brain skills, I bet you're better than most adults. Here's a horrible secret. A lot of adults stop caring about stuff after like 30.
Isn't that sad?
I know. It's terrible. It's terrible. Unfortunately, I care about too many things, and that's why I get into trouble all the time.
That's why I still LARP. Keeps you young.
That's good for... Wow.
We've learned something about each other.
I know. What's terrible is like, but see, now I'm at the point where I go to bed at 10 p.m. every night, unless I'm playing certain games. Let's see. What are we looking at?
Any favorite video game characters?
With a new delay of Mass Effect 3, do you believe it could hurt the gaming industry? Not this year.
Nah.
No. I think it's actually probably going to be better for the game industry because it gets pushed into early 2012, which is still always lighter, and that's kind of a must-buy game. The end of this year is so crammed, it looks like 2008 all over again, which I think is only a healthy thing. Also, if you check out feedback, we have a good friend, Jesse Devinich, from the research group EDAR, who's on, who really points out that the game industry is not suffering right now. That is kind of a misassumption that's going on. What do you think about you do if they attempt to create Portal 3? Make a game as awesome as Portal 2 is all I need. I need more J.K. Simmons. I want J.K. Simmons to come to my house and read me a story. And he's my new hero. I have all those like it. I don't know how to ask him. He played that horrible neo-Nazi guy in that HBO show about prison.
But now he's made up for it.
I know, but still, I think of him like that. It scares me. Uh, what do you expect out of Battlefield 3? I'm expecting a lot out of Battlefield 3. The demo that I saw, while on the superficial level you're thinking Call of Duty, it does some things that are subtle, very differently. I think it has the best sense of place yet I've seen in a military game. And if they can exploit that in the right direction, I think it could be one of the phenomenal single-player experiences. Ugh. It's a little weird you're bragging about me saying taco explosion. What kind of game would you like to see again that's been lacking this generation? Platformers. And I have no hope of ever seeing them again. They're just
on the indie level.
On the indie level, but I mean, I love, even though I don't think they always hit the most perfect execution, I thought the Jak and Daxter series from Naughty Dog was exceptional. And I guess what I'm looking for when I'm saying platformers is the one thing that Ratchet does is having things that are in a more elastic, cartoonish environment. Right. That is not something we have enough of. I think because young people think it's somehow for kids. I think it's just, it's a fantasy world that I've always wanted to live in ever since I was a kid. Yes, I remember you from Boston. Sorry, that went by so fast. I hope you're doing well, man. What's the first game you played? Ghosts and Goblins at a bowling alley in El Cerrito, California that I had no business going to at the age of 9. Oh, my God. I've said it's the kind of place that would give Hubert Selby Jr. the shudders. And I was there because I wanted to play. You feel the games today aren't as good as last gen's? No, I think last gen's games were showing what games could do, but between the technology and the vast improvement in storytelling technique, that they are better this generation.
You mean like original Xbox, PlayStation 2?
Yeah. I think that there's also, unfortunately, there's more similarity and less risk taking than there was last gen, but. Yeah. On the whole, I think the quality of games is much better. Let's see.
Favorite boss battle?
Favorite boss battle?
It's always so hard.
One of my favorites, I think, was the final boss battle in Rayman 3.
Yeah.
And I bet no one here has actually played it that far, and so I won't have to be challenged on it.
Okay.
I was just really, really clever. I know there's something else. I just can't come up with it off the top of my head. Am I excited for StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm? No, because I suck at that game. Morgan, on the other hand, is very excited, so I will answer for her there. When does Kingdom Hearts 3 come out? Here's the funny thing about the Kingdom Hearts 3 thing is they've never even said it's being made. And I don't think it is. I don't think it's being made.
I thought I heard something.
I mean, it's like no, they're just gonna throw it on a phone and put in a character and change a pixel and say, okay, we're re-releasing it. If people stop buying the other Kingdom Hearts games. Maybe then they'll make Kingdom Hearts 3 try to, reinvigorate the franchise.
Well, then they'll just tease you with a carrot on the string.
Coming. Let's see. Wow, this is going by so fast, guys. How was the Metacritic situation? Have things changed since you last rant a couple of years ago? Oh, I did a rant recently when they were starting to rate people.
People?
Yeah, if you work on a game, they'll do an aggregate score of the qualities of games that you work on. Except, as Clip Blazinski pointed out, they somehow made a mistake and they attributed the GameCube game Geist to him, which dragged down his score. And then when they finally took Geist off, I think he then had a higher score than Miyamoto. And that's really only because Miyamoto's made more games.
Right.
And his name attached to them. I used to joke around that it would be a sketch that we would do on the show where we would run out of games during the summer and we would actually start to review people. As kind of a dark commentary on the obsession in America about evaluating things and affixing scores. Yeah. And then it turns out Metacritic tries to actually live up to my nightmare scenario. So, way to go, kids.
That's not funny anymore.
Who is the best G4 worker, not counting yourself? Oh, I don't know. I'm not going to say that out loud. Why did I even read that out loud? We do review indie games. It's infrequently on the show. One of the biggest problems that we have with the indie game, and there's nothing wrong with indie games, it's a very unregulated world out there, and it takes us a while to find the good ones. In fact, a lot of you guys out there will actually discover them before we do, and it's only because of emails that we get sent then that we sort of get enough that we want to do a segment on it. How do I feel about Metal Gear Solid Rising? It is a game that will come out sometime long from now.
That's an opinion.
Yes. When it comes to Kojima, I just like to hold my breath until I play it. What is a very underrated PS3 series? Dark Cloud.
That's PS3? Oh, that was PS2.
No, that's PS2. Is there an underrated? Is there a PS3 series that's underrated? I don't think that's possible.
You can suggest some.
Most stuff that's the series on the PS3 is actually very,
really
very strong.
Yeah. It's either really good or really eh.
Do you expect BioWare to give a release for the Old Republic at E3? Well, they better.
Yeah.
Because I will fully abandon anything about that game. Don't tell me when it's coming out.
I just want to play. Yeah, they just said today, end of 2011. So
yes, I will play Diablo 3. Do I have any thoughts on Versus 13? I have no interest in it.
Me neither.
Will I be cosplaying at this year's E3 or Comic-Con? I will be cosplaying as a man who's very tired at both E3 and Comic-Con. Best Final Fantasy game, 3.
Wait, 3 or 6-3?
6-3.
Good choice.
Let's see. Have you ever thought about teaching? Yes, I actually really want to. I have spoken to a couple of... Actually, I got to teach a class for a day over at USC, and it was a lot of fun, except a lot of the students didn't really want to hear from me. They were kind of obliged to be in the class. I was a dude Oh, God, I just missed that. Sorry, guys. How do you think E3 is going to turn out? Big, crowded, loud, a lot of games.
I don't know. The last couple of years hasn't been quite as horribly loud.
In an article, is it better to give an objective opinion or more subjective and personal opinion? Well, it depends on what the article is. Is it an opinion piece? Subjective and personal. If it is trying to inform people about facts, I think you should keep it objective, but then give a little bit of insight, but not insight that is the God's truth or something like that.
Yeah.
Has anyone called you the Alton Brown of video games? Okay, do you guys still think I look like Alton Brown? I know when I used to kind of look like Alton Brown. I finally got word that from some other people at Food Network, and I was like, does Alton Brown get told he looks like Adam Sessler? And he's like, who's Adam Sessler? He doesn't. So it was just me. On the DMC reboot, do we mean Devil May Cry?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I just want more Bayonetta. I don't need any more Devil May Cry.
Yeah, Capcom Bayonetta, please.
Adam, when will it be? Wow. Okay. I'm going to slow this down here.
Okay. I know someone was asking about the NGP or PSP2.
The NGP? Mm-hmm. I just can't believe they're... I know it's not going to be called the NGP. But, I mean, the NGP sounds like a hip-hop collective in the mid-90s. And I just don't know... I can't say it with a straight face without thinking of, like, Michael Bivins sitting on the can rapping from the Motown Philly video. And it just... That doesn't do anything for it. I'm interested in it. I'm interested in it. Do you think Project Cafe will wow us? You know what's probably going to happen? It's going to wow us, and then we're going to get skeptical about it because it's Nintendo. Not to say it's not going to be good when it finally comes out, but I finally... Shiny, new, and promises don't do it for me anymore.
Nope, we want to see stuff.
Character you relate to the most?
Good question.
Who's the most...
Who's the most Adam-like character?
I think Rayman.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's a very, very fun, but yet completely malevolent world that he inhabits. And he doesn't talk much. He doesn't have joints. And his best friend looks like a pitcher plant.
Okay.
I can relate to that.
Best friend looks like a pitcher plant.
I can relate to that. Yes.
Okay.
Should Project Hammer... What the hell is Project Hammer? I remember that. Am I excited for Borderlands 2? Once it's announced, I'll be very excited. I love Borderlands.
What do you think about while on Borderlands and Gearbox? What do you think about Gearbox doing Duke Nukem?
I completely understand. Randy is a friend of mine. He got to start at 3D Realms. Right. There's obviously a very passionate thing. I hope people are slowly understanding that what they are playing is a game from the 90s. I find it rather fascinating as a throwback to how different FPS construction was back in the 90s. It does sometimes give me a little bit of concern at the price point it's going to be sold at, as I think it's going to raise a certain level of expectation, because he's not just doing Duke Nukem forever. He has the license. Yeah. And that I hope that this game is successful enough that more exciting and very contemporary things can be done with the Duke Nukem license. Let's see.
Sit down, everyone.
You guys have no idea how fast this is going. What about PlayStation Network? Still not up. When will there be classic episodes of X-Play? We run old sketches, and let me be honest, that's all you really want to see from classic episodes of X-Play. Can I cry in command? No, I can't. But there's many things that can trigger it. probably not going to happen right here.
No.
Though.
Okay,
Do
we
you
only
think
have 1 minute
GTA
left.
needs to go back to San Andreas? Not if I have to ride a bike again. Let's see. Do you think Mac users don't get love? No, they don't. Let's see. Do a backflip. If you knew how much my back hurt right now from working out, no. What is the worst game you have ever reviewed? The Dragon Age 3D game. Because I actually did the review of that. I had to give it a 1 out of 5. That game was unplayable.
I didn't realize there was a 3D Dragon Age.
Yeah, it was their attempt to actually make kind of a game out of Dragon Age, and it was not made very well whatsoever.
Well, you know, it's almost time for us to wrap it up. So why don't you pick one more question that you want to
Okay,
ask,
let's go.
and then we're
Let's see what we can get.
gonna
Oh no, now it's just flying up. What do I expect from the Heavy Rain movie that's about to be released? This ties into a soapbox I did earlier this year. There's no need on earth to make a Heavy Rain movie. You know why? Heavy Rain is based on the logic of movies and noir and stuff like that. That is the snake eating its own tail. I have no desire to see a movie made out of a video game or a video game made out of a movie. They're two different media. And yeah, it's like trying to, you know, make a movie out of the soft machine, which now you guys are all going to go out there and read it, so that's why I can tell you more about it.
That's your homework for tonight, Mr. Sessler. Adam, thank you so much
my pleasure.
for coming by. It was lovely having you.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you. Be sure to follow Adam at Adam Sessler on Twitter.
Yes, Adam Sessler on Twitter.
You can ask more questions there, whether he'll answer or not. We don't know.
Oh, you're here, Greg. I saw the closed door.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for stopping by. We hope you had fun with Adam today. We'll be back here tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Sorry, not with Adam, but I'll be here. And we'll chat more about video games. So until